The Master's Mysteries. Tales of Magical Mastery. Episode 8. My Cow. It turns out that the mad cow in the village a few days ago was owned by Sanjin. When he saw the cow dead, he was really heartbroken. But there's no other choice. Life still has to go on. Sanjin brought a cart and pulled the cow back home, thinking that no matter what, he had to butcher it and sell the meat. It would at least be some income. However, just as he was about to slaughter the cow, a dark brown bug crawled out of the old yellow cow's ear and jumped onto his arm. Sanjin found the bug's strange appearance a bit odd, but he didn't pay much attention to it. He reached out to try to squash the bug to the ground. But before he could do so, the bug fiercely bit his hand, and at the same time, the clamp on its tail clamped onto Sanjin's hand. A piercing pain surged through him, causing this burly man to scream. As the pain subsided, Sanjin felt that more than half of his body had gone numb. He inwardly thought, "This bug is poisonous." However, as soon as this thought arose, his body became immobile. Sanjin felt a blackout in front of his eyes and collapsed to the ground. Tap, tap. Sanjin never imagined that the bug would be so toxic. His body was numb and unable to move. His vision was darkening, and he felt that he was about to be poisoned to death. But at that moment, strange footsteps approached him. "Help! Me!" Sanjin strained his eyes and saw that it was an old beggar with only one leg standing in front of him. But at this moment, he couldn't even complete his plea for help. "Heh, don't worry, I will definitely save you." The old beggar limped around Sanjin twice, and with a smirk, he finally spoke. "This is my treasure." The old beggar pulled out an even bigger bug from his clothes. This bug looked even more terrifying, clearly extremely venomous. The old beggar reached out and placed the large bug on the back of Sanjin's head. Immediately, Sanjin smelled a strong rotten stench, but he couldn't move his body at this point. He could only let the terrifying bug crawl on his head. Then the bug exerted force with its 6 legs and deeply burrowed into Sanjin's scalp, while a poisonous sting on its tail pierced into the gap of Sanjin's shin bone. After another intense pain, Sanjin completely passed out, and the old beggar had disappeared at some point. A long time later, Sanjin regained consciousness. After he crawled up from the ground, he felt like he had forgotten something important. It should have been crucial, but he just couldn't remember it. Every thought caused excruciating headaches. But there was one thing he couldn't forget. His biggest asset, the yellow cow, had died. Why did it have to happen to him? He felt that the heavens were particularly unfair to him. For some reason, that sense of resentment in his heart kept growing infinitely, making Sanjin feel like his whole being was about to explode. "Is this the reason you harm people?" I don't know why I did it." Later on, Sanjin began using the venomous bug that bit him to harm other villagers. Now that he had regained his senses, he couldn't understand why he had done such evil things. He was also controlled and lost his sanity due to the bug. "We should go back to your village as soon as possible." The mention of the villagers stirred something in Liao Fengyi's heart. Since Sanjin was also being controlled by someone else, it meant that there was another true Gu master behind it all. Would he harm others again? Hurry. Otherwise, that Gu master will harm more people. Wait for me. Upon hearing Liao Fengyi's analysis, everyone was shocked and disregarded rest, hastily running down the mountain. Sanjin's village was located at the foot of the mountain. The village was not large, consisting of only 50 to 60 households. Due to its remote location, it had been spared from the ravages of war, and the residents lived relatively well-off lives. As they ran into the village, they immediately noticed something was amiss. Why is there no one in the village? This is not right. Our village is not usually like this. It was noon, yet the village was completely empty. Not a single soul in sight. "Quick, let's hide in the back. Don't come closer." The group ran back and forth in the village several times until they heard someone shouting near the threshing ground. They hurriedly ran towards the sound. But as soon as they arrived at the threshing ground, they were stunned by what they saw. "Don't come closer." It turned out that the villagers were indeed gathered here, but they were under attack by a group of strong men. The elderly, women, and children were protected at the back, while the frontline villagers, though armed with sticks, were visibly frightened. These people are from the brick kiln in the west of the village, right? Why are they? It appeared that these people were brick workers from the kiln behind the village. They seemed to have also fallen under the control of the goo worms, and now they were attacking the villagers. "Sanjin, take uncle, and hide. We'll handle this. Otherwise, I and Dao Master, hide for now." All right. Before Liao Fengyi and the others could come up with a solution, those people abandoned their attack on the villagers and turned towards them. These people, controlled by the goo worms, had lost all consciousness. They could only emit strange howls, resembling ferocious beasts, as they charged forward. But this posed a dilemma for Liao Fengyi. After all, these were ordinary people, and he couldn't be too ruthless. Besides, causing severe injuries or even death wouldn't sit well with him. Liao Fengyi held back, but the same couldn't be said for those people. They attacked ferociously, using headbutts, bites, scratches, and grabs. Liao Fengyi had no choice but to dodge and strike their vulnerable spots. After a few rounds, although he managed to knock down several people, Liao Fengyi himself was in a sorry state. The situation wasn't any better for Dao Master. Engaged in a fierce struggle with a few people, he had sustained several wounds, putting him at a disadvantage. "Kid, this won't do. They've started attacking the villagers, and we can't protect everyone." But this old Dao Master, having spent a long time in the martial world, carefully observed the surroundings as he fought. He noticed that something was amiss and immediately shouted to Liao Fengyi. Liao Fengyi, while pinning down one person, heard the shout from Dao Master and turned his head to look in the other direction. When he looked over, he indeed saw several kiln workers taking advantage of the fight between Liao Fengyi and Dao Master and rushing towards the villagers. The scene became chaotic, filled with cries and strange screams. Fortunately, the villagers had Liao Fengyi and Dao Master as their backbone, so they were not as panicked as before. Several young men wielding sticks engaged in combat with the kiln workers. Turning his head, he saw several brickyard workers taking advantage of the battle between Liao Fengyi and the old Taoist and rushing towards the villagers. The cries and strange noises filled the air, creating chaos. Fortunately, the villagers had Liao Fengyi and the old Taoist as their backbone, so they were not as panicked as before. Several young people armed with sticks engaged in a fight with the brickyard workers. Although the brickyard workers had lost their sanity and acted somewhat crazy, fortunately, the villagers outnumbered them, and for a while, they weren't at a disadvantage. They managed to bring down several of the workers. But this is Lao Zhao. Let's all attack together. Don't be afraid. I just can't bring myself to go all out. But some of these workers are also villagers from our village, so everyone hesitates to fight them too fiercely. Kid, where are you going? If this continues, there might be casualties. Finding a moment, Liao Fengyi and the old Taoist gathered together. The situation in front of them was too chaotic. They needed a good plan. At that moment, Liao Fengyi noticed a hemp rope hanging on the earthen wall behind him. He quickly turned around and rushed towards it. Liao Fengyi took down the long rope and conveniently picked up a bamboo pole from the corner of the wall. He tied the rope to one end of the bamboo pole. Old Taoist, get ready. Then, with a swing of his hand, Liao Fengyi threw the bamboo pole forward. Old Taoist, hearing Liao Fengyi's call, didn't quite understand what was going on, and before he knew it, a gust of wind brushed past him, and the bamboo pole had already flown by. No time to explain. Kid, Couldn't you have given me a heads up? Receiving the bamboo pole in his hand and seeing the hemp rope, the old Taoist instantly understood. Just as a few people were rushing over, the old Taoist twisted his body, dodging the crowd and circling around behind the brickyard workers, cooperating with Liao Fengyi. Then he pulled the hemp rope in his hand, and those people were instantly caught in the rope, held together. In fact, this was Liao Fengyi's plan. They couldn't harm or injure those people, so they could only temporarily bind them together and then slowly remove the parasites. Now that there was a solution, the villagers didn't hesitate. They immediately found long ropes and took action. With many people, things were easier to handle, and with a common goal, the group of brickyard workers was quickly surrounded by the villagers. In less than a quarter of an hour, this group of people was all tied up by the villagers. As long as their movements were restricted, the power of the parasites couldn't be exerted. Damn it. It's fortunate that this happened in the village. If it were in the capital city, controlling so many people, we'd be plotting to seize power. The situation was under control, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking back to the frenzied scene just now, everyone couldn't help but shudder. Thank you, two wizards, otherwise our village would have suffered. We will definitely capture that sorcerer. Everyone, rest assured. The villagers expressed their gratitude, and the old Taoist and Liao Fengyi were also influenced by their sentiments. They vowed to catch the sorcerer and protect the peace of the village. Don't just thank us. Bring out the roasted chicken and braised pork knuckles. Even the celestial master needs to eat. Yes, yes. Hurry, go prepare meals for the celestial master. Especially the old Taoist, who now calls himself Zhang, the celestial master. He immediately started shouting and bustling around. Hey, it's getting more interesting. But they don't know that not far from the threshing ground, in a small grove, the corner of an old beggar's mouth curled up. Then this old man will accompany you and have some fun.